The mayor of Johannesburg has issued a statement about the increase in electricity costs in Johannesburg. And to put it simply, it is maximum disrespect. As you know, there's an additional 200 Rand surcharge, which is now being charged to residents of Johannesburg who use electricity on prepaid meters. As you know as well, the price of electricity in South Africa has been increasing at a much higher rate than inflation. In fact, in 2000, 1 unit of electricity cost 37 cents. And in 2024, 1 unit of electricity costs 320 cents. That's an increase of 864% in 24 years. And inflation in that same period has increased at a rate of 273%. So you can see that there's almost a fourfold difference between the rate of inflation and the rate of increase in electricity prices, right? This is part of a trend in the increase in the cost of electricity across the board, across South Africa. And it's part of a trend in the privatization of electricity generation with a specific focus on wind and solar. So this is how they said the electricity tariff is going to work for prepaid users. Just listen to an official from the city of Johannesburg explain it.
The reason for this charge is that, remember, electricity as a service has got two components. There is the consumption, it's the kilowatt hours that you use. But then there is the infrastructure that is needed to provide you with those kilowatt, to bring the kilowatt hours to you as and when you need it. When you switch off the light, you don't need the electricity, you're not using kilowatt hours. But the ability for you to switch that light on and off, for the electricity to be available on demand, that's where the network comes into play. So the prepaid tariff was structured in a way that customer was not contributing sufficiently to the cost of that we are incurring to making sure that electricity is available as and when you demand it. Now, how are we going to implement this? It then means that if a customer works in a store today with a 200 Rand in his hand to buy electricity, what will happen is that you put the VAT part of it up on the side, but otherwise you take the 200 Rand, you split it into two. The 100 Rand will be used for the basic charges, and for the other 100 Rand that you would then be getting kilowatt hours, which would be approximately 16 or 17, 18, around there that you will get after that. Now that should last you maybe 2, 3 or 4 days. If you then come back with another 100 Rand, or again, then it will be split. 100 for basic charges and 100 for the consumption until the 200 Rand is fully covered for the month. But if you should work in the shop with 800 Rand to buy electricity, what it will happen is that you will get kilowatt hours for the 600 Rand, and the 200 Rand would then go towards the basic charges that you, as a prepaid customer, in the previous financial year did not incur, or you were not paying for it.
So inevitably, people have been complaining about this particular surcharge. They've been saying that they cannot afford it, and they've been blaming politicians for making this particular decision, which is going to cause more pain for consumers. And the conversation has also been looking at the people of Kenya. You know, when there was an attempt to increase taxes in Kenya just a few weeks ago, the youth of Kenya protested. And actually, they said, no, we can't afford this. We need you guys to make different adjustments because we simply don't have that money. And the president of Kenya had to accede to those demands. He had to acquiesce, even though they tried to force through that particular measure. So some people have been saying, hey, why are we sitting back and taking all of this punishment from these politicians, right? So the mayor of Johannesburg has issued a statement here. The statement came out yesterday, and this is what the statement actually says. The executive mayor of Johannesburg, Councillor Kabelo Gwamanda, wishes to assure the residents of the city of Johannesburg on the city's understanding and determination to create fairness and transparency in the city's electricity tariffs regime. The newly introduced electricity surcharge for prepaid customers is the outcome of various council resolutions since 2018. It is intended to provide revenue to fund the city's investment into new electricity infrastructure and for the maintenance of existing infrastructure. However, following the adoption of the surcharge, the country was confronted by the scourge, right, of COVID-19. As a result, the city, given the economic impact of COVID-19 on the residents of the and economy, postponed its implementation in 2019-2020. The new electricity surcharge is a necessary intervention to create fairness and equality in the city's tariff regime. Prepaid customers have been paying the surcharge postpaid customers have been paying the surcharge and only prepaid customers were excluded. What the introduction of the surcharge now seeks to do is to end the unfair subsidization of prepaid customers by postpaid customers, says Mayor Gwamanda. As required by law, the city undertook a comprehensive integrated development plan, IDP consultative process in all wards in the city and has consulted with residents and their representatives comprehensively prior to the approval of the new tariff by council. Equally, and as expected, there has been some opposition to the surcharge. However, as a responsible government, the city must ensure it optimally uses tariffs to maintain the system and to increase its capacity to meet the growing population and increasing economic needs of the city. The Democratic Alliance and its stooges are I'm having that conscientiously moment. I'm sorry. Let me go back. The Democratic Alliance and its stooges are opportunistically sensationalizing a sensitive matter that concerns us all. They are attempting to subvert council decision by arousing public sentiment under false pretenses to gain political mileage. The surcharge being introduced in Johannesburg is currently being implemented across DA-run councils across the country, including Cape Town and Tshwane. Any attempt to sabotage this critical intervention is an attempt to deliberately collapse the city's infrastructure and to maintain the injustice of creating a two-tier tariff dispensation where postpaid customers pay and prepaid customers don't. The split between postpaid and prepaid customers in the city is approximately 50-50. And as such, we cannot continue with good conscience to disadvantage one customer base in the interest of the other, added Mayor Gwamanda. The city urges all residents to familiarize themselves with the new tariff regime, and as the city, an added effort is being made to educate the public on the tariff and its implementation. Right? As a caring government, I'm going to read, then I'm going to react. As a caring government, we appreciate the economic challenges that confront residents and the anxiety any new tariff brings. However, in the best interest of the city, we must act responsibly to enforce equality amongst our customers and to protect the future sustainability of the city and its infrastructure, concluded the mayor. That's the latest. So the arguments that they're making, two arguments. Number one is that, actually it's three arguments. Number one is that this is not new. It was agreed to. And as a result, everyone needs to, just accept that this is not a new thing. And in fact, we took pity on you. We didn't implement it in 2019 or 2020 because of the pandemic. That's not argument number one. Argument number two is that, listen, some people are paying this, the postpaid customers, and the other customers are not paying. So in the interest of equality, therefore, everyone has to pay the same amount, and we can't keep the prepaid customers or give them a pass. Now, this argument about equality almost makes it seem as if people are actually economically equal. And we don't actually tax people equally in South Africa. We have a progressive tax system which recognizes that certain people who make more can pay more taxes, and those who are facing poverty or are close to poverty pay less in taxes. Right? Progressive taxation. So the system that currently exists is not even one that taxes everyone on a flat rate. It's not. And the idea that people who are postpaid are equal to people who are prepaid is in many instances not true. People who are paying 100 Rand every 3 days for electricity are struggling to get 100 Rand. People on postpaid, they can pay. And they're often the middle-class South Africans and the affluent South Africans who live in the suburbs. So what you're saying is that those who live in the suburbs are economically equal to those who live in the townships, who live in units, etc., where they have to do this prepaid thing. And that's not true. And it's also, I think, I'm going to go deeper into this, but that's one of the arguments that they're making. The other argument that they're making, the third argument, that, we consulted. But note, when they consulted, people opposed this surcharge. Then they say, no, don't worry. We know you opposed it, but we are a responsible government, so we're going to force you. That's what they're saying. Let me go back, because I read it and I was reacting, but I was like, let me just... As required by law, the city undertook a comprehensive integrated development plan consultative process in all the wards, and the city consulted with residents and their representatives comprehensively prior to the approval of the new tariff by council. Equally, and as expected, there has been some opposition to the surcharge. However, as a responsible government, the city will make you eat this surcharge. That's what they're saying. The city must ensure it optimally uses tariffs to maintain the system and to increase its capacity to meet the growing population and increasing economic needs of the city. So actually, they're suggesting that this is anti-democratic because the people opposed it. And I think it was most of the people opposed. They're saying some opposition, but I think it was most of the people who are affected by this opposed it. Once I went to a debating competition. It was called, what is it called? It's HWS. It's HWS. It's a university in America that invites people who have won major debating competitions. So if you've won the World Championships, the African Championships, the Australian Championships, the European Championships, you get invited to the competition. So I went there. And when I was there, we had to take a taxi from the airport to the university. And one of the people that I was with, his father is a billionaire and he studied in the UK. And we were in the same taxi, right, with this air. And I think the cab cost us maybe $200 from the airport to the university. And when we got there, the billionaire's son said to me, Jamie, we're not going to split this bill. I can't split this bill with you. Right? I know your situation and I'm going to pay the bill. It's only fair. Why am I telling you the story? Because there was a recognition that some people cannot pay half the bill in the way that others can. And that on a question of justice is something that we must be cognizant of. Anyway, let me now give my real and full reaction to what this guy said. Number one, I think that this letter is tone deaf. They call themselves a caring government, but it doesn't feel like they care in this because they're saying, we're going to make you eat these vegetables. And I don't even know if they're vegetables, to be quite honest with you. But it doesn't feel like they're a caring government in this respect, right? It's tone deaf. Prepaid customers are already struggling in status quo. They're struggling with the cost of living. They're struggling to get to work. They're struggling with debt. They're struggling just to make the amount of money that they earn reach the end of the month. This 200 rands is a lot of money for many people because it's not dropping out of the sky. It's coming when they are already squeezed from all sides. So it's tone deaf for you to say you're caring at the same time to come with this heavy cost. Think about it. People are paying 100 rands for 3 days. People who do that are not in a good economic condition. I've lived in homes like that, where everyone is nervously watching the units. It's traumatic. It's very traumatic. Right, so that's the first thing. The second thing why it feels tone deaf is that it seems like rich politicians don't get it. The mayor of Johannesburg makes 1.5 million a year. He's earning 125,000 rands per month before taxes. And he has lots of privileges, lots of benefits from being in that position. He's not feeling what everyday people are feeling. And that's a reality. The other thing is that there's so much corruption. There's so much that is happening in terms of inefficiencies that it does seem as if asking the people to carry this burden first before becoming an efficient government is something that is cruel and something that really is uncomfortable for them. The other thing is that people don't feel like this is value for money. Right now, city of Johannesburg has got water shortages. It's got lots of issues that take a long time to get fixed. The CBD is dirty. It's not safe. There are so many things that are not going right in the city. Therefore, when you come with new costings, new charges, and people don't even feel like the old money that they're paying is going somewhere worthwhile, that does seem as if it's immoral, unethical, and wrong. Right? Because the money that I gave you for the last thing, imagine you send your little brother to the shops to go buy bread and milk, right? 2 instructions: go buy bread, milk, maybe let's add eggs. He comes back with a packet of Lays, and then he says to you, no, can I have more money? More money for what? Where's the stuff that I sent you to get originally? And this is what it feels like for many people. And Mayor, if you watch this video, I hope that you understand that this is what people are feeling. Also, the other argument that they made is that, this is a DA thing. They're trying to take a chance now, and they are charging the same thing. In the first instance, it is correct for him to point out hypocrisy. If the DA and people have said to me that they're paying these surcharges in the Western Cape as well. I saw that in the previous video that we made about electricity price increases, and you should watch that video, right? People have said that. They've said, listen, we're paying that as well. But the concern being raised is not partisan. It's coming from households. It's coming from families. It's coming from everyday people who are saying, guys, we can't afford. So even if EFF, DA, all of these guys supported this, people are saying they don't support it. And so to just say no, it's just a partisan thing, I think also is distasteful. Right. And I want to mention that there are economic consequences to this continuous increase. And this is where I want to finish off. But before I make my final point, if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe. It helps YouTube know that you love this content. It helps others find the content as well on YouTube. All right. We've recently crossed 20,000 subscribers. I'm so thankful to everyone who's subscribing, supporting the channel. We're going to really try to do deep dives, different analysis, independent analysis, and have nice debate and dialogue on current affairs, on law, on politics, on sociology, geopolitics, and have these robust conversations. Sometimes conversations like this don't happen on the news. They don't happen in mainstream media. They happen here. And so if you love this type of content, click like, subscribe, tap that bell, and make sure you're part of the community. Right, going to my final point. There are economic consequences from the continuous increase in the price of energy. Number one, long term, this decreases consumer spending, right? If people have to pay more and more and more of their monthly income on electricity, on transport, they're not going to have money to support industries, to actually buy consumer goods and to buy semi-durable goods. And generally, this depresses the economy. And the South African economy is already struggling with growth, right? The other thing is that it increases inequality. When energy costs become so exorbitant, the state of inequality increases. So those people who are able to afford electricity and actually earn a lot of money, who are a small group, have a bigger and bigger gap between themselves and those who cannot. This is one of the reasons why it's important for a country to be able to provide cheap energy, not expensive energy, right? There's a billionaire who said that electricity was too cheap and therefore things had to be done to change that. But I think him saying that was wrong. And even though he got what he wanted, it's time for us all to reflect on whether that is healthy for the country, right? Small businesses that want to enter into industries like manufacturing, industries where you have to have lots of electricity to produce your products. They're not going to be able to compete with Chinese companies that are bringing their products into South Africa, with established companies that are owned by the oligarchs and the few companies that dominate the South African economy. If you want growth, you have to give small businesses a chance. But if energy continues to be a prohibitive cost, how are they going to get a chance? That's where I'm going to leave it. I want you to watch what this billionaire had to say. Watch what he had to say and think about what it means for 2024. Till the next one. Watch this guy. He's going to show you flames.
Electricity prices a very growing concern in South Africa. Eskom has now revised its tariff increases to 35% for the next 3 years, and that's from 45% initially, but still a very big blow for industries out there. Do you think that it's viable to have electricity prices at those levels going forward? And what is African Rainbow Minerals going to be doing to try and mitigate that extra cost every year?
There are various initiatives that we've undertaken over the last few months, and I've been exposed as well to various initiatives that the mining industry as a whole is implementing that are aimed at making sure that the increase in the costs of electricity do not have a fundamental impact on profitability or even on the continued sustainability of their businesses. We have for many years had a cost of electricity that was recognized at by global terms to have been very competitive, and without a doubt, the new increases have compelled all of us to go back and to review. But over the years, there's been some discussions about introducing competitors to Eskom, and in many parts of the world, you do have these independent power producers. I don't know at this stage as to how competitive. And in fact, the information I received in the past was that because Eskom was so cheap, it was unattractive for independent power producers to enter into the market. But we have to look at the cost of electricity and mitigate those expenses as best we can, and we will do that.
Copenhagen is currently underway, and South Africa has pledged to cut back on its carbon emissions by 42% by 2025. Do you think that South Africa is capable of cutting back on emissions so extensively, considering that we're so reliant on the mining industry? And the mining industry, of course, is one of those industries and sectors of the economy that contributes significantly to South Africa's growing carbon footprint.
I think as an industry and as a country, we have a huge obligation to significantly reduce our CO2 emissions or our contribution to global warming. And I am aware that there are various initiatives, various projects that are underway. And I think in some cases, various studies, there's a huge commitment. And as an industry and as a company, we are committed to make our contribution. It's very important long term. We do need a planet that provides a safe environment for, many hundreds and thousands of years to come.